Have you ever stepped onto your balcony and wished that it felt more of a garden or a rainforest as opposed to just an empty space? If you're thinking of doing a balcony makeover for the first time, or you're just thinking of how to take it up a notch and to make it feel more lush and alive, then this video is for you. I've done so many balcony makeovers over the years for my current and also previous apartments, and I've learned so much, including mistakes which you can now avoid. And in this video, I'm going to also share to you on how to incorporate design principles to have that beautiful, lush, and aesthetic look, and also some photos and videos, and just to give you some more inspiration to bring that garden vibe into your home. I decided to film indoors because it's still quite warm outside, and also because there is a construction happening next door and it can be quite loud. So anyway, the first thing is floor treatments, and this is going to be the first thing that you want to consider, especially if you want to cover your unwanted floors for whatever reason. Maybe the aesthetic just doesn't fit into your style. So these are your options. Number one, actually, I would say this is a thing to avoid, which is the fake grass. I think it's called the AstroTurf carpet. For me, it feels really plasticky and synthetic, and anything that is plastic is going to make your place look really cheap. And especially because we're going to use it to cover a big chunk of your space, it's not going to do you wonders. What you can do instead would be one, the composite deck tiles, and these are so easy to install and easy to clean. And especially if you're going to have a roofless balcony, this is great as well because some of it are actually waterproof, and at the same time it just gives that nice warmth texture to your space. And you can also sprinkle it with some pebbles. Pebbles are great because it just adds texture and also makes the space really nice and zen. But the thing is, with these two, you want to consider, especially if you have a roofless balcony, you want to make sure that it has a really great drainage system. You don't want to water pool underneath because you don't want to be breeding mosquitoes, which I've done in the past. So those are two great options. And the other one is kind of a maybe. My partner actually wanted us to have a carpet for our own balcony. And yes, I do understand that's going to create that nice, warm, cozy feeling, but at the same time, I'm the one doing gardening. So I know how messy it can be, like from watering the plants to doing gardening to pruning, etc. And also because we live on the second floor, there's just the wind coming from the streets, like during spring especially. There's the tree husk coming from the streets all over to our balcony. And like what I mentioned earlier, there is a construction happening next door. So so once in a while, I would see some particles from the construction. So it can be quite messy to clean, but it's up to you depending on your space. The last option is to not do anything at all. For example, if you feel that you don't really need it, like in our case, I don't think that I need any kind of floor treatments because the color palette is actually very similar to the color palette of the living room. And for me, because of the situation of our balcony, I feel that it is an extension of the living room. And again, because the color palette is quite cohesive already, and I'm not so bothered actually with the floor. And again, because I feel that it's just easier to clean this way. Just like in interior design, you want to make use of the vertical spaces. You don't want to just use the bottom half of the room because otherwise it looks so heavy and unbalanced. So same thing with your balcony. So let's talk about wall treatments. One option is going to be the wooden slab panel. I think these are great additions to add more warmth. And also the most important thing is that it's going to give you a lot of opportunity to fill it, hang it with plants. Is going to make the place really nice and lush. The second one is a maybe depending on your space, which is an iron garden arch. I think it's a great way to also have all your trailing plants, your vines, and also maybe some fairy lights. I think these are great options if you have the space. The third option is going to be rather uncommon, but I'm using it, which is a bamboo ladder. So I love this. And the main reason is because I don't want to drill any holes to the walls because I have tiles. And number two is still bamboo, still organic of a material. And number 3, I can hang some plants as well to make use of the vertical spaces. And if you'll notice that, yes, you're right, it can be a bit higher and taller for the height of the balcony, but I bought this actually for the previous balcony, and the height was made for that balcony. And the reason why I was inspired to use a ladder is because if you can still recall, like I don't know if it's now or even before, but people will actually use a ladder in their homes to display their towels or knickknacks or whatever it is. And so I thought, why not use it to actually hang some plants for the balcony. I would also avoid these types of plant stands or shelves, as I don't feel that they fit into the natural garden vibe that we're going for, unless of course you are a serious plant collector. The easiest way to do it is to simply have a tall plant. And of course, if you have the ability to take care of a walled garden, by all means, go for it. Ceiling is obviously an extension to the use of vertical spaces, and these are your 2 options. Number 1 is a retractable rod, and these are great because you don't need to drill any holes, and you'd be surprised on how much weight it can carry. And you just need to make sure that's locked properly on both sides, and don't be this person. Or if you're willing to drill a hole, you can just easily install a hook, and either way, both are a fantastic way to just hang plants. I feel that they're just so beautiful, and it's going to really maximize the use of vertical spaces and to not overcrowd your floor with plants. When it comes to selecting planters and pots, you want to take into consideration the color palette to ensure that it is cohesive and intentional. So you don't want to have too many colors all together, because otherwise it look too messy and cluttered and just so busy. In my case, what I did was to just have more neutral planters, and I do have some red, but then again, red is the accent color of my living room, so it's still going to be very much intentional. And again, because the balcony is the extension to my living room. I do also recommend to use organic materials such as terracotta, clay, ceramics, to baskets, to also coconut husk, as opposed to a plastic ones, because they just look nicer aesthetically. But I do know that sometimes it's kind of hard to avoid plastic planters like so, because I do have them myself. But the trick is I would use like bushier or trailing plants to cover most part of the planter, and then for those that are upright or erect kind of plants, then I will use a nicer pot. By the way, if you're still watching this video, it'll be great if you can give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video so far. And also there's a new function called Hype. If you can click on it, that'll be great, because it'll also help to boost this video. Thank you. Here comes the fun part, which is grouping and styling your plants, and this is where you can apply some design principles. 1 and 2 actually goes hand in hand together, which is the triangle principle, as well as grouping your plants in odd numbers. So let's start off with the triangle. For some reason, triangle is just a better, more dynamic of a composition, and it's just more visually interesting. And there are different ways on how you can form and shape your objects into a triangle. So one way is to have a taller object behind, and you have smaller ones in front, like one side of the balcony, and the other side, although there are only 1 objects in different layers, but the bottom one is larger, and it just still creates a triangle of a shape. And also odd numbers, for some reason, it just makes more of a balanced look. And I think you can just imagine that in nature, right? Everything grows unevenly, so that, yeah, that's why I guess for me, like a grouping in 3 and triangle just makes it more of a natural look. Try to avoid displaying plants in just rows, as it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. It looks flat and not so dynamic. But if you look at this picture over here, the plants just seem to just naturally sprouting out of nowhere. It just looks so much nicer and just so lush. So it has been a long day, and it's now started to rain here in Shanghai. For part 2, I'm going to share more of my plant recommendation, plants to avoid, plus some accessories. So please stay tuned and subscribe. Bye!